Hey there! Welcome back to Reddit Dating, best channel for cheating stories. Make sure to like and subscribe the channel for more spicy stories. My 27 male ex has been sleeping with my friend for the last 3 months behind my back. Context: we've been together for 6 years and 8 months. The last year of our relationship became unhealthy, and as a result of my habits and flaws, she lost a lot of love for me and couldn't continue as we were. I comprehended. She expressed hope that if I changed, we might be able to reunite one day. A mutual buddy is getting kicked out of his home and has nowhere to go 2 weeks before the breakup, so we open our doors and welcome him in. He and my partner were extremely close, to the point of making me feel uneasy and accusatory. We had our disagreements, which drove my partner away because nothing was happening. We split up 2 weeks later. We had an intense fight, and when she couldn't take it anymore, she ended it. We have 6 years of mutual assets and are each other's best friends. I didn't want to go since I was still madly in love with her, and she saw me as her best friend, whom she never wanted to lose. Fast forward to present, I'd had suspicions that they were up to something since December and up until last week. They kept convincing me that there was nothing there, that they weren't each other's type, and that it was awful to even think about. Until yesterday, when I walked into my friend's room and surprised them while they thought I was sleeping. My companion lied through his teeth. He stated that she was giving him, and that nothing else had transpired other than hand stuff. I went to my ex, who was sobbing on the bed, and whom I had spent the last 3 months attempting to rebuild our relationship, and asked her to tell me the truth. They've been having sex non-stop for the last 3 months, roughly 2 weeks after we split up. They assure me that it was merely because they were bored and that it had no meaning. They've done everything together, even things I used to beg her to do that she'd never do with me in a million years. Needless to say, I've been deeply wounded, furious, and outraged as a result of all of this. It's been a really turbulent 3 days, and I've heard a lot of opposing viewpoints. I finally decided to return home, make my peace, and pack my belongings. Given how badly I was hurt, I felt positive this was the correct thing to do. I started the lengthy drive back to my parents' house, where I'm staying temporarily, and cried hysterically the entire time. Not because I've spent the last 3 months trying to mend things with her, or because I feel like I've lost my soulmate and my buddy has violated my trust, but I was crying because of the friendship I'm now missing. I've been crying because I miss her company and kind disposition. I miss my dearest buddy. I've tried phoning and texting to apologize for the awful things I've said and done, because I truly want my friend back. For the longest time, we were inseparable, and we know one another inside and out. I had been so concentrated on attempting to repair the connection that I had completely overlooked the friendship that had existed the entire time. What the fuck do I do on Reddit? I know I need to give her time, just as I know she needs time from me. I simply miss my best buddy, and I feel like I pushed her away with how I behaved when I found out about everything. She apologized for leading me on because it was never her aim, and she said that if things had improved in a few years, maybe we might look into a relationship. However, I misinterpreted that as if I changed as soon as possible, maybe we could work again, but I was sorely mistaken. What should I do? Please, I'm completely lost, completely alone, and I can't stop crying. Story number 2. My wife was found cheating. Let me begin with some context. My wife and I are both 54 years old, M/F. 31 years of marriage. She works as a registered nurse in a hospital. I've been working for a home builder since I was 18 years old. We have 2 children, both of whom are in their 20s and have left the nest. We decided to pursue my wife's ambition of owning a bed and breakfast when we were in our 40s. We've been looking for years on and off. We found a 5-acre plot of land with a house built in the 1870s. The original owners were significant landowners in the area. They possessed a vast agricultural business enterprise. Over time, fewer members of the family decided to continue farming. Land parcels were sold off. Our town is experiencing growth spurts since it has become rather touristy due to some, shall we say, natural formations and attractiveness. Farmland along major motorways is being devoured. We bought a house in acreage away from the motorways. My wife and I have been renovating the entire house since we purchased it. Some basic maintenance has been neglected, and we want to return the mansion to its former glory of 150 years ago. In addition to earning a living, my wife has been in charge of beautifying rooms while I finish up with mortgage payments. I'm refurbishing room by room, paying for all materials and expert assistance as needed. Because I'm somewhat handy, I do the majority of the job. The housing business has skyrocketed in recent years. We'd work 8 days a week if we could. I was making a lot of money. Until last year, that is. We were out of work for a period in 2020 due to the epidemic, and then material shortages began. Of course, my wife had been on the front lines for the previous 18 months. She worked at the hospital for weeks without taking any days off last year. The medical personnel remained at the hospital. They had rooms where several people slept together. To put it mildly, the crew got extremely close. They worked for 4 weeks and then took 2 weeks vacation. Starting in March of last year and continuing into the fall, and then again after Thanksgiving. After the kids were grown, my wife always worked for others if they asked. She saw these young parents cry because they couldn't see their children. So during their downtime, she would give up her vacation time and provide it to the staff members who really needed it. There were others who did the same thing. Her entire COVID experience had an impact on her. Seeing people put on ventilators, deaths, and so on. She was no longer the same person. She was aloof. Our sex life had come to an end. I put it down to her experiences or her age. I attempted to talk to her about it, but she said she just didn't feel it anymore. We continued to collaborate on the house. We planned travels to a part of our state with a sizable Amish community. The Amish in this area are well known for their skill in woodworking and stitching. We purchased many pieces of furniture for the bedrooms, as well as handmade quilts. We had planned a 3-day excursion to this area to acquire dining room furniture this past weekend. I also pay in wood from the demolition of an old barn, which I do as a side hustle. Barnwood is in high demand. My supervisor calls to tell me that everyone will be working the entire week since he was able to buy wood and shingles for a house we've been sitting on while waiting for supplies. I informed my wife that we may go on Saturday and Sunday. She tells me on Friday morning that she is still going with some coworkers because there is a fall festival going on. That night, I head to a nearby tavern. One of her coworkers approaches her to say hi. I inquire if she intends to accompany me on the vacation. She had no idea about it, so I texted the wife, wondering whether she was okay and who else was there with her. She responded by texting this friend, another close friend, and a buddy named Stevie. I'd heard this name a couple times in the last few months. I had always assumed they were feminine up to that point. I asked her bartender if she knew this Stevie. She declined, but there is a Steven who works for them. Do so when the wife returns on Sunday afternoon. She has bags of tablecloths, napkins, and kitchen towels, among other things. She is showing me what she purchased. There was a tiny bag in one of the bags. She took it out, glanced inside, and said, "Oh, not this bag. It's not for us." I just let it go. Later, when I checked in the bag, I discovered that she had stashed it in a closet. It was decorations for a man cave for a college football team that I don't watch, therefore it wasn't for me. I requested to speak with her. I inquired once more as to where everyone had gone. She chose the same 3 persons each time. I just wanted to know who Stevie was because we hadn't met before. She mentioned a woman they work with. I took out the man cave items and informed her I spoke with her friend, who was supposed to be traveling last weekend, but her plans fell through. Then I asked again who Stevie was. She began to cry and told me who he was and that they were alone. They possess sex. They have been since last year's hospital lockdown. As a result, she is now residing in one of the completed bedrooms. I have access to our bedroom. On Monday, I'll consult with a lawyer. I'm at a loss for what to do with the house, the business, and the marriage. She was sorry she was caught, but not for the affair, she told me. I asked her if she was willing to call it quits with Stevie. She was unsure. Update. It's been a stressful few weeks. My wife and I were fighting as my business and side gigs picked up. I went to see a lawyer. He suggested we try to figure it out before he gets involved, after I described everything. The residence is still not a company and hence cannot be sold as one. We'd have to market it as an incomplete house, which would reduce the price. We've spent well over $100,000 on the house, not including the mortgage. The lawyer will need to confer with a real estate attorney and possibly a business attorney. As a result, their fees will be hefty. So I approached the wife to see if we can talk. I'm not sure if she's embarrassed about getting caught, but she's dug in her heels. She urged me to get out of the house. I informed her I had no intention of doing so. Then she retaliated by having me give up the master suite and relocate to one of the bedrooms. I assure her again that I don't intend to do it. She then says she'll be gone for a few days and will transfer all my belongings out and place them in the foyer for me to choose where I'll stay. As a result, I discontinued the conversation. I went out to where I keep my supplies and got a new door lock with a push-button keypad. When we had visitors, I plan to install on the bedroom doors. After each guest, we can modify the combination. I hung it on the master bedroom door. I went to work the next day. She was furious when I returned home after a day of receiving angry texts for putting the lock on. "How dare you lock me out of my bedroom?" she raged. I requested if we could please discuss after some back and forth. She eventually consented. We sat down later that evening. I told her I was hurt to learn of the affair and that I wish she had informed me she wasn't happy. She was deafeningly silent. So I kept doing that because, as far as I'm concerned, the marriage is finished. She simply nodded her head. I then informed her that I had seen an attorney. Her expression caught her off guard. I stated to the attorney that it would be great if we could reach an agreement on what to do. The house is our most valuable asset, and selling it would result in a significant loss. I can document that I have paid the mortgage, so the house is mine, she added with a smile. No, I said, shaking my head. My lawyer indicated that the house is a marital asset. The mortgage is in both of their names. I then took out a couple of binders. Every receipt that I have spent is classified by room on what I have spent. I began this simply out of curiosity and continued as we finished rooms. I have proof that I spent thousands of dollars renovating the residence. The receipts caught her off guard. She hasn't seen an attorney yet. I propose that we live in peace and finish the house together. The B&B can thereafter be established. At the time, she could buy me out of the company. She dug her heels in once again. No, I must depart. If not, she intends to relocate Stevie. This hurt a little. I stood up and went to get a drink of water to collect my thoughts. When I returned to the table, I warned her that if I saw him in the home or on the land, I would begin demolishing everything he had done. I'd take out every nail and screw I'd put in. Every light fixture and plumbing fixture would be removed. I promised not to destroy them because I own them. I'd replace them with any old salvage material I could locate. I told you to think about it and talk to whoever is offering you dime store advice. Please let me know. She came to see me yesterday. We hadn't spoken in a few days. She asked if we could talk about it again. She had spoken with our children. I had contacted each of them and informed them of the situation. Our daughter proposed that we stay in the house until it was finished. Begin the business as I advised. Then I could maybe walk out while still owning 50% of the company. Mom might operate the business by hiring an employee or two to help run it, perform yard maintenance, and give Mom a day off. I assured her I'd think about it, but my opinion of Stephen would not alter. So I have another meeting with the attorney. The main difficulty is that we will most likely not be in business until 2023. The outside requires a lot of work, as does the landscaping, and we need to build a room for one of us to live in. The room I'm in is one of the available for rent. Update 1. My wife and I were talking about how we were going to divide our assets. Our lawyers advised that we reach an agreement as soon as possible. The stroke occurred while we were conversing. I was sitting for a split second before collapsing on the floor. My wife is a registered nurse. Thank God she saw something was wrong because when she inquired whether I was okay, I collapsed on the floor. She dialed 911 and informed them that I was having a stroke. I spent a week in the hospital and then in rehab. When I returned home, my wife had taken a leave of absence to care for me. I don't think I would have recovered as well if she hadn't been there. She returned to work in January after determining that I could manage someone on my own. Our kids, on the other hand, pop by while she does her 12-hour shifts. I'm not sure if she's still dating Stevie because she was by my side for 2 months. She has, however, taken a couple of 3-day vacations, so I believe that is still going on. Divorce discussions have been put on hold for the time being. Thank you to everyone who asked for updates and everyone who DM'd me to find out where I was. I'm getting better. I'm having trouble walking, so going back to work is out of the question. I might have to think of something different.